guys, welcome back to Vince Bell Custom. So today I'm sharing with you a sexy nun Jessica Rabbit statue that was customized from the Esmonster 3D print that was printed out in about a 1/4 scale. This is the nude version of that Jessica Rabbit that I used to kind of make the sexy nun. Now the way this came about is on my Patreon, what I'd like to do is hold voting. So we picked up 3 Jessica Rabbits and we had some votes to figure out who's going to win and what characters we're going to do off of them. And it's basically, the way it came out to be is I suggested like try to think of something outside the box, try and like, you know, come up with some ideas. And some people suggested like a cop, a nun, we did the Star Trek version, 2 of the 3. I think there was like maybe a Vampirella, somebody else suggested like, you know, like a Dragon Ball character. So with Jessica Rabbits, there's tons and tons of options, and this is the one that got pulled out of the hat, so that's kind of what came to be. And I think it came out pretty good. I like the Esmonster sculpt because of the head and the anatomy. It just needed a little bit more of a pop. So I gave her a bigger chest. I kind of took in the waist as much as I could with the sculpt and gave her a bigger booty too. The thing with this Esmonster sculpt is the head has got that good animated look. The hair was a little too realistic, and the body is a little bit on the realistic side. But so I kind of had to work with that. I kind of wish that they gave her a bigger chest, a smaller waist, a bigger booty, and really made the legs thin as it went down to the tiny feet. But they didn't do that. But it's okay though, because it still is a good sculpt, and I kind of tweaked it my own way. And that's what I always tell people with 3D sculpting. If you print out an item, you can always tweak it. You can add other elements from another statue. You can customize it, and that's what I did with these. So on the Patreon, the way it works is we kind of come up with these characters with voting, and then during the live streams, I only work on these on live streams on Fridays, and the idea is that you kind of just come into the chat. We talk about how I'm going to do stuff. I show people in real time, so it takes a long time to get these done. But it's only like an hour, 2-3 hours a week working on these. And then anytime I have to stand and chop stuff off, I do that off camera during the week. But most of the time it's just customizing and just shooting the shit in chat, just talking and going from there. And the Patreon is more of supporting my YouTube stream. It's not really a Patreon where you get like all these perks. You get to download all these files per month and stuff like that, because I don't do 3D files. I do one-of-a-kinds. So the idea is people just support the YouTube channel and supporting these type of like side projects for fun, and then giving people a first crack at it. Because the way this is going to work is it's going to be sort of like a silent auction on my Patreon, and then whoever gives me the best offers wins. If not, it goes on eBay. So it's kind of like experimental. We'll see how it goes. But this was pretty much one of the votes. I pulled it out. So basically each week on stream, I kind of draw stuff on the sculpt. I kind of talk about how we're going to do stuff. I show pictures. People give me feedback back and forth. And then we kind of go from there. So sometimes there's a lot of people on the stream on a Friday, and you get a lot of feedback. And other times there's really nobody. So it all depends on the week on how it goes. So it's just a matter of back and forth and just seeing how things come out. And also trying experimental stuff too. Sometimes if I can afford the project, we'll do some experimental stuff. And other times I can't, because it's like, I have to be realistic with this stuff. You could go crazy and make this crazy elaborate skull with all this extra stuff, but putting the money into it and then trying to sell it to offset the cost for the next project, I got to kind of balance all that. So it's hard, but it's all experimental. We'll see how it goes. So for one of the things is like during the streams when we talked about this item, Raccoon, who comes into the streams, mentioned that, you know, we should do one of these stiletto shoes, or I guess I forget what they're called, where they have the red on the back of them. And something like that is kind of what we talk about. Like, I did 3 Jessica Rabbits where it was the nun, the Star Trek, and the cop. But this one we gave her thinner heels, and then these red parts underneath the shoes to give it a little bit more of a pop. So stuff like that is kind of where we go back and forth. And with this one, you know, with a nun's outfit, you could go really crazy with it, but she is an animated character, so you got to kind of think about it as well as like kind of tone it down to make it a little animated. So you got to kind of play with it here and there. And it's also on live streams, so I'll admit it is a little bit difficult to work on this stuff sometimes with live streams because I have to have my headgear on and I got to get in close, and then you can't really see what I'm doing with the camera in a way. So it's kind of a balance to try to do this stuff, but it's also fun just to kind of, you know, you come in on a Friday, you see how things are working, and kind of shoot the shit, and you kind of see how things progress from the beginning to the end. So if you want to see any of the work in progress stuff, you can go back onto some of the old live streams that are on YouTube, and you can check it out. But let's get a little bit closer, and we'll kind of go over everything. So basically, I gave her a bigger chest and a bigger booty, and I took down the waist as much as I could within the framework of the sculpt. There's only so far you can go with it. So you can see the booty is a little bit bigger. We put these straps in here, so that was kind of interesting how I found these straps to do it. So it looks like it's sunken into the booty a little bit there as well, as you can see at certain angles. And then we also did the straps here in the front, because you can't really have these straps floating off the skin unless it's something you design where you glue it in at the end, which like a factory could do. But this one is kind of on there for good, so that's kind of what we did with that. So get up a little bit closer to the head now. So the Esmonster came with like a hair sculpt, which I didn't really like because I figured I was going to sculpt the hair my way, more like the animated look. I was a little bit worried about how the hat was going to work, but if you watch the live streams, we put a big metal brass piece here that I curved up there, and then I sculpted the hair, and then I sculpted this piece on top of it, so it's got that nun look up there. A little bit of an earring that I got off eBay, glued it at the end because she has gold earrings. I also make sure to sculpt the hair over the one eye because usually she only has one eye showing. Sculpted in the neck gear, and then after that, the arms are removable. They are painted in a metallic Spaztec gloss black and then glossed up afterwards, so that's why it's a shiny latex type outfit. This skin tone is off of acryl paints. That was one of the suggestions in the stream, to try these acryl paints. So that was the whole idea, is to get these acryl paints and then experiment on this item. And actually I like the paints a lot because they remind me of Garage Kit color skin tones. So it's kind of a good thing somebody in the stream suggested that, because it's an experiment. I like it and it works. So that's what we came up with that. Now I just added this just now before I did the video. So we did purple prayer beads with a carrot. I sculpted a carrot. I was going to pick up one off of eBay, but the one I was watching got sold, and I could never find it again. So I kind of made my own. But at least there's a little bit of a purple hint there from the original item with her. So you know how she had purple gloves? So I gave her purple prayer beads with a carrot. So I did the Star Trek, the cop, and the nun. And each character has a carrot element into them. The cop has the carrot as a gun. The Star Trek has the carrot communicator. And now the nun has a carrot prayer bead. So I don't know if Roger like eats the carrots per se, but since he's a rabbit, I thought maybe just to throw it in there for fun. So other than that, you know, like as I was working on it in streams, I asked people like, you know, where do you want the item? Do you want like the, you know, the piece to come up higher? Do you want it to come up lower? Do you want lines here? Do you want it up this way? So I would draw on this, and people would give me feedback to where they would like to see it and what type of thong and all that stuff. So that's how it came to be. But like this part underneath here, because these are like supposed to be really tight on her leg, and it's like the skin is pushing off there. So that stuff I had to do off camera during the week when I chop up statues, and then on Friday come in and show you guys how I'm doing it. So it's a very, very hard process to try to have everything ready for Fridays and work on them, because like, you know, you could work on something on a Friday in like the 2-hour stream where you're putting these straps and you have to let it cure to the next day, and you can't work on other stuff, you know. So it's a balance, it really is. But all in all, it worked out pretty good. So that's Spaztec gloss black, but it's got a hint of metallic in there with their fuel protective gloss, so that's why we got that latex shiny look. But for her straps and for her headpiece is more of a flat black with a little bit of a texture. I'm not sure if you guys could see the texture in there. I just wanted to break up all the black. I didn't want everything perfectly latexed. I wanted to try something a little bit different, and that's what I went with that. And then all in all, it's pretty straightforward. It's just Jessica Rabbit as a nun. You know, and then one of the things is I like to do simple bases with museum poses. So one of the suggestions in stream was you should do like a base with, you know, stained glass. So I said, okay, let's see if we could do that. So one of the suggestions was that we get the stained glass paints, which would have worked out perfectly, but the only problem was is an item is sitting on those paints and they're very rubbery, and I have a fear that over time, like if you lifted her up, it would sink into those paints and you would rip all that paint off the item. So what I did is I just did watercolor type base with the Roger drawing and stuff and gave it like a stained glass. So at least Roger's sort of in this element here somewhere and looking up. So like I did the Star Trek, in her communicator, Roger's face was there. So now with this one, Roger's face is on the base like stained glass. And then the cop has actual Roger on the base. So each one has a carrot and each one has Roger in there somewhere. So it's kind of like keeping the whole uniform but having some fun with them. But all in all, it was a fun sculpt. I still say this is the best Jessica Rabbit's 3D file out there. I just wish that they would have tweaked it a little bit different, but that's okay. Everybody has their own different sculpts and their own like techniques and stuff, and then that gives me the freedom to 3D print it and kind of tweak it and do it my own way. So that is the Nun. Pretty straightforward. So like I said, Patreons will get first dibs at these. If they do not, anyone does not pick them up through the Patreon, they'll end up on eBay on my account, Vince Vale Customs. So whoever wins it, hope you guys enjoy it. Everyone that's come into my streams, that's kind of just voted on these, any of my Patreon supporters, I thank you very much. I'm having a lot of fun with these Friday streams and doing these things. So these will fund the next projects, and we just keep going and just keep going and keep going and seeing how things go. I might revisit the Jessica Rabbits 2 down the line. If there's some other 3D sculpts that come out, maybe we'll do more Jessica Rabbits, because Jessica Rabbit's fun. You could do anything with her, like Harley Quinn. You could do a nun, you could do a construction worker, you could do the police officer, you could do like Phoenix. I did a Phoenix Jessica Rabbit off the sideshow. I did a Wonder Woman. I've done the Slave Leia. I've done French Maid. I've done the Playboy Bunny. So like Jessica is endless possibilities you can do. And that's the cool thing too about doing these one-of-a-kinds. You just kind of print out the file, you tweak it up, you customize it, and you get something really cool like this. So there you go. That is the Sexy Nun Jessica Rabbit Esmonster 3D print. Let me know what you guys think. Thanks for watching, and we'll be back with some more videos.